LSU and Ole Miss that we'll dive into. Best win and worst loss of the weekend in college football's top 25 in the NFL. In hour two, we got Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss to talk about the Rebs. Chris Blair is going to be with us at 2:15. We're going to do that weekly moving forward. The Coaches Show with Brian Kelly is every Thursday, so it's a good time to bring Chris on to talk about what we've seen from the Fighting Tigers. So we'll do that at 2:15. So plenty on our plate this Thursday. We're working towards the weekend here, and that weekend is going to bring LSU and Ole Miss from Oxford in a massive game. I talked about this yesterday about who needs this game more, and I couldn't come to a definitive answer. I just know that it means a lot to both teams because the loser of this game comes out with a lot of goals seemingly off the table. And the winner feels like they've got something figured out, bouncing back from an early season loss. So it's huge. And I have listened to a lot of Ole Miss content over the week. I've listened to the folks from Rebel Grove, Neil McCready and Chase Parham, who do an awesome job. I've listened to some Locked On Ole Miss as well. And I've done some reading, and the general consensus from those who cover Ole Miss and write about Ole Miss day to day, talk about Ole Miss day to day, is that the main reasons for the lack of a run game from Ole Miss to this point in the season are, one, that maybe Quinshon Judkins isn't completely healthy, and two, that the offensive line has played very poorly. So I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit. This is, as you would expect, same way Florida State was, the same way Arkansas was, the same way Mississippi State was. It's a very old offensive line. LSU has thrown some freshmen out there in the last 2 years at offensive line, but in the era of the transfer portal, most teams are very veteran at the line of scrimmage because it's just harder to ask freshmen to come in and contribute there. You can fill some holes with folks who are older. And so Ole Miss is going to start 4 seniors and a sophomore on the offensive line. They'll have Victor Kearney at left tackle. He was at Washington last year, was an All-Pac-12 performer. They'll have Quincy McGee and Jeremy James at the guards. They were both starting players last year. McGee at UAB and James at Ole Miss. Caleb Warren was a starter for him last year. He'll be the center. And out at right tackle, it's Micah Pettis, who's a sophomore, who was a starter for them a portion of last year as a freshman. So very, very veteran group that has been bad. There's no other way to say it. Ole Miss's identity is supposed to be beat you up with the run game the way they did last year. And they haven't been able to do it against anybody. It's just been a slog for them. And because of that, they've had to trust Jackson Dart to basically do everything. And it's not just the run game that they haven't gotten going. They're also allowing a lot of pressure. Alabama had 5 sacks on Saturday. And I went back and rewatched that this morning, and it's just a pretty relentless pass rush. Dallas Turner had 2 sacks. He kind of plays the Harold Perkins role, but they totaled 5. Tulane had 4 sacks against Ole Miss. And Tulane's a fine team, and they were ranked, and they're maybe the best group of 5 team and whatever. They're still Tulane, okay? You can't block Tulane, then you shouldn't be able to block LSU. Now, Georgia Tech only had 1 sack in that game, but it wasn't like the offensive line was great. Quinshon Judkins ran for 2.8 yards per carry against Georgia Tech. What I notice when I turn on highlights of Ole Miss from this year is that a lot of their offense and a lot of the plays that they've made have come even when there is pressure. And Jackson Dart is consistently doing things off of schedule. He's rolling out and running. He's rolling out and getting the ball downfield. He's making throws like backing up and with the pressure in his face and still getting the ball down the field. He's having to do basically everything with his arm and his legs because the offensive line is not allowing the running backs to get the running game going, so they're leaning on Dart to do it, and they're not allowing him to sit in the pocket and go to work. Jackson Dart against Georgia Tech ran for 138 yards. Some of that is off-schedule plays and making it work. Some of it is actual design runs. They ran a gorgeous design quarterback draw for their first touchdown against Alabama. They drove it down the field, got inside the 10-yard line. They spread the entire field, empty backfield with Dart, took the snap, set himself, and the seas parted, and he walked into the end zone. And that's some of the stuff that they're doing because that is not really offensive line play. Yes, you have to seal and make sure he's got a lane, but that's just allowing the guys to rush up the field and running back behind them. Their designed run stuff is not working. Now, LSU defensively was decent against the run against Arkansas. 37 carries for 137 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. That's not earth-shattering stuff. It's decent effort against the run. LSU was decent against the run against Florida State. It was basically the same, 34 carries for 135 yards. That's 4 yards per carry. Benson had a couple runs early in the game. He didn't do much late in the game. Now, Jordan Travis went nuts on the secondary, and we are well aware of that, but LSU did a decent job against the run in that game. And LSU was phenomenal against the run against Mississippi State. Woody Marks had the one long run for 52 yards before the half, and outside of that, Mississippi State got nothing on the ground. Now, Jackson Dart is far more similar to Jordan Travis and KJ Jefferson than he is Will Rogers, right? Will Rogers is not going to hurt you running. He's not trying to move around. He's not trying to rip off 30-yard runs. They're not going to call a lot of quarterback draws for him. They'll do that for KJ Jefferson in Fayetteville. They'll do that for Jordan Travis in Tallahassee. So the teams that LSU didn't have as much success against is kind of more what Ole Miss mirrors. But it's not just the run game, because I do think LSU will stand up reasonably well against the run game. If they don't, Lane Kiffin will do what he does, and that is just stop throwing it and just run it on every play. They'll go tempo. They'll just bury you on the ground. But LSU's not allowed that to happen to this point, and I don't expect it to happen. The more important thing in terms of LSU winning the line of scrimmage up front is in the pass rush. And you know this. This is now a weekly talking point. It's kind of football cliche-ish to say, hey, you gotta rush the passer. Well, we know. Everybody's got to rush the passer. We get it. But it means more to LSU because they're just not covering. And Bama was able to win with the pass rush. Tulane was able to win with the pass rush. And in those games, Ole Miss's offense really struggled. They scored 10 points against Alabama. And until there were about 7 minutes in the game against Tulane, Ole Miss wasn't exactly clinical on offense in that game either. A lot of that was off-schedule stuff from Jackson Dart. So LSU's got to win with the pass rush. We know about Harold Perkins. We know about Mekhi Wingo. We know about Savion Jones. We hope with Mason Smith. And then with Swinson and Agofu, you've got some older guys who haven't been great at rushing the passer this year, but you know where the pass rush should come from. There's one name that we don't necessarily know. He did flash last weekend, and he's getting some more snaps. And, of course, that's the freshman Deshaun Womack. Braden Swinson was asked about that freshman pass rusher when he met with the media a little earlier this week, and he gave an indication of how Womack's coming along.
He done made so many strides just from the offseason to now, and I'm really proud of how he's doing. So it just makes you happy when you see one of the younger cats, one of the freshmen come in, make a play, and it's I'm excited for him. But the dance though, oh yeah, that's our dance together now. I'm gonna go ahead and steal it from him.
Let's hope we see a lot of that dance. Here's the deal with Womack though. We know he can rush the passer. He's not as imposing physically as the rest of LSU's defensive front. He's just a youngster and a freshman, and he's got to add some weight to that frame. He's got to put on 20 pounds over the next 2 years. But he's an athlete. He can get up the field and rush the passer. Problem is, he's not going to be a three-down guy. And Ole Miss wants to run the ball, and LSU's got to win those battles. So if you put Womack on the field, you're taking Swinson or Agofu off the field. And so you're taking a better run defender at this point in their careers off the field against a team that really wants to get the run game going. Now, if you find your spots, you get them into a third and long and you can sub, have at it, and let's see it. Let's see a lineup that's got Perkins and it's got Savion Jones and maybe Womack. I don't know how you get them all on the field, but with Perkins as a linebacker moving around, get your best pass rushers out there, because it's apparent to this point now that Matt House knows at any chance that I've got to get pass rushers on the field in whatever combination's got to happen, I've got to do that to help my secondary out. And Ole Miss has shown that they're not really equipped to stop it. I mean, the last play they ran from scrimmage in Tuscaloosa was a 3rd and 7, and Alabama just brought a lot of numbers with a lot of athletes, and one guy came clean. Ole Miss didn't pick it up, and he just drilled Dart, who couldn't even get the throw off. They're there to be exploited. LSU's just got to do it. And we know that. This is not breaking news, but I will say that I'm listening to these Ole Miss folks that cover the team. I'm reading the writing that they're doing, and we'll talk at the top of the next hour to Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss, and I'm sure he'll echo this, that offensive line has not been very good. That's where LSU's strength on defense needs to show up and dominate at the point of attack. Nick Saban said on Saturday after they beat Ole Miss, he said, I thought the game changed because we won the point of attack on both sides of the ball. You do that, you've got a really, really good chance to win. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. Get on by Rouse's for your game day shopping needs. Getting a watch party together to watch LSU and Ole Miss for 5 o'clock. They've got all your food, your liquor. They've got all your wine there at Rouse's. Plus, they've got all the food you're going to need, whether it's burgers back there in the butcher shop, steaks. If you're having a little more upscale watch party or just need a sandwich tray or some chicken tenders, they got you covered there at Rouse's. Stop by one of the locations. There's like 1,000 of them in South Louisiana. And if you can't stop by and don't have time to go in, you can always download the Rouse's app. We tell you about that every single week. Download that app, and you can do your shopping at the tip of your fingers. Your personal shopper going to go in there and do the shopping. They'll bring it right out curbside. And as long as you spend $35, you don't spend an extra cent in terms of the takeout fee. So awesome, awesome stuff over there at Rouse's, and we thank them for bringing you our Thursday shows. When we come back, our weekly chat with Luke Johnson on the Saints. Who's going to be playing quarterback? What does Kamara bring? Can they beat the Bucs? We'll talk about all that with Luke next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. One of the things my wife and I don't really love about the house we're in right now is our closet situation's terrible. Now, we're not going to call David Duvall One Bath and Closets because we're going to move here shortly. But if your closet situation's not great, David Duvall and his crew, One Bath and Closets, can help you with that. If it's just get too much clutter, not enough space, you got suitcases jammed in there, and you don't have a good place for ties, let them come in, put in some new shelves, some racks. They can do some creative things with some hooks and use the space a little bit more efficiently and tailor it to your exact needs. Their process starts with a questionnaire. They understand your needs and what you have, and then they customize that closet to you. It's going to be functional, and it's going to be beautiful. You can check out their work at onebathandclosets.com. They've got some great images of all the work that they do. It's coming up on the holidays. If you're looking for a gift maybe for your significant other and think maybe a new closet's the one, David Duvall and his team are ready to help you out. So go to onebathandclosets.com, request that free consultation I've been telling you about. Let's get a new closet, get a new bathroom in that home. One Bath and Closets. Find them at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Scooch a fall in the air, fall. is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to Six
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We kick off your football weekend. Mike Triplett, your fantasy blitz, and we'll head to Oxford to take a look at the Rebs. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here on a Thursday. Locked On Ole Miss' Stephen Willis going to be with us in 45 minutes to talk about the Rebs. Chris Blair in hour number 2 as well. But now we head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Find our guy Luke Johnson, who covers the Saints for The Advocate. Luke, how was the homeland last weekend?
Dude, it could not have been any better. I mean, obviously, maybe some Saints fans would have heard me talk about a win, but if we're going to talk about everything other than the game, look, you can't beat 70-degree weather in September. You can't beat loads of beer and cheese. It doesn't really get any better than that. Let's just be honest. And I had a brat at halftime. Come on.
I saw that, and now I follow. Obviously, I'm a big Cubs fan, and I follow ESPN Chicago, and they genuinely act as if they love bear weather on the lakefront when it's 8 degrees and they're playing football. Do Packers fans prefer the frozen tundra in January to the 70 degrees, or do they just deal with it?
Yeah, if they're lying to you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Let's just be real. Winter in Wisconsin and the Midwest and the Great Lakes area sucks.
Not good.
It's awful. And you know what? So does spring. Spring, it just all the snow melts. It's just disgusting every day. It's still 40 degrees outside, but summer and fall, you cannot beat it up there. I just need to get rich enough. Maybe you and I can devise a plan to where we just make a ton of money and split, a house that we can just live at for 6 months out of the year and then get the hell out.
Yeah, I'm in. The only plan I've got really is to buy a Powerball ticket. Now, I haven't bought one in 2 years, but eventually I will buy one. Let's hope I just kind of get lucky, and we'll coordinate on that. We can see what we can do. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad does Derek Carr's shoulder hurt?
He was asked that exact question yesterday, and he's like, "I feel no pain." It's I can see the lie in your eyes, my guy. Or I don't know, maybe he was just he was just recently shot up and he was being completely honest. Look, man, I've never experienced an AC sprain in my life. But I can't imagine that feels good. The word sprain just conjures pain in my mind. If anybody's ever sprained an ankle, it's hey, you feel like you broke the thing. So yeah, I can't imagine he's feeling good right now. And I'd be surprised if he's able to play on Sunday against Tampa just because of that. I don't know how you can plan to be a successful functioning quarterback if your arm is killing you, your shoulder specifically.
It's interesting, and I know Derek Carr said earlier this week that he takes all the reps in practice and Jameis doesn't take any, and I know how Drew Brees was as well, and he wanted all the reps. Don't really know what the last couple of years were like. Obviously, Jameis has been hurt for a lot of it, but I mean, what is Jameis Winston at this point? Do we have any idea?
In what way?
Like, is he still the guy that threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, or is he rusty? Is he a check down guy? Like, what can you expect from him if he plays?
Well, I mean, I think we've seen throughout his career. I think we can expect Jameis to be the player he always is, right? Which there's good and bad that comes with that. The phrase to describe him is quarterback. He is somebody who likes to let plays develop and hold on to the ball and see if he can take shots downfield. I mean, obviously he's not going to do that like 30 times a game, but that's who he is. And that's why he's just like picking out highlights. There aren't many better out there than Jameis Winston, right? He makes some spectacular throws. You're just like, how the hell did he fit it in there? And then you realize that, like, those come with 3 others that you're like, why is he trying to fit it in there? So I think they want him to play within the offense desperately. I think he can be pretty good when he does that. We saw it through the first 7 games or whatever of the 2020 season, or 2021 season rather, when he was taking what was there. He was completing a high percentage of his passes. They weren't asking him to do too much, and he wasn't trying to do too much. And they won a bunch of ball games. But if he kind of reverts to what we've seen from him, both in Tampa and in last year, where he's playing kind of loose football and he's playing outside of the offense and trying to make things happen, I think that's a recipe for bad news. So we'll see what we see on Sunday if he's playing as I'm expecting. But that's just he is what he is, and we have plenty of evidence to back that up.
Can Alvin Kamara help the running game at all?
Look, I don't think they could put Derrick Henry behind what this offensive line's done for 3 weeks and expect them to, right? They have just gotten no push, and it's really set their whole offense back. I think. They did go out and spend $150 million on Derek Carr this offseason, but they're not. They don't want him to drop back 50 times and throw for 450 yards every game. They want to be a balanced offense, and when they're not, we've seen teams be able to tee off on their pass protection, and I don't think Alvin Kamara is like this panacea that's going to fix that. We saw it last year. I think he was still a special player last year, and he's averaging less than 4 yards a carry, right? It's something they've got to fix on the offensive front before you're really going to see the playmaking ability of special players like Alvin Kamara, or even see what Kendry Miller can do. That guy was running into a brick wall every time he put the ball last week.
Look, I said yesterday, like we mentioned Lael Collins and whether they can go sign him or you can move some people around, whatever. My answer to the Saints offensive line was, hey, all these first and second round picks, like y'all better play better. And is that kind of what Dennis Allen has said?
Yeah. Look, there's no chance in hell they're going to sign somebody mid-season to come in and play a starting role for them.
Yeah.
They've committed to Trevor Penning, I think, through the 2026 season. Cesar Ruiz just signed a 4-year contract extension. Eric McCoy signed an extension last year. Ryan Ramczyk still has a couple years left on his deal. Like, they are committed to these guys for significant sums of money. They have to have these guys play up to their level. I mean, it's just plain and simple. And before we get all into the scheme and the coaching and all that stuff, I mean, those guys were getting beat one-on-one last week. It wasn't even like stunts or games or anything or blitzes. It was Rashawn Gary beating Ryan Ramczyk. It was Kenny Clark beating Eric McCoy. Like, one-on-one. Those guys have to be better. They have to be better in pass pro. They have to be better in the run game. And they've committed so many resources to these guys that there's no other. They just have to be better.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the case. So the Bucs we thought were tanking, thought they were just attempting to lose a bunch of games, and all of a sudden they've come out and played pretty well. I wouldn't call their wins great, but they've gotten a couple, and Baker Mayfield's been pretty damn good. So what do you think about the Bucs offense as they face this Saints D that's been remarkably consistent?
Yeah, I think we saw the Bucs kind of turn into a pumpkin on Monday Night Football. Once they faced the defense, The Saints are not the Vikings defense or the Bears defense where we saw Baker Mayfield. It really play at a non-sustainable level. I think I saw something like 23 of 25 on the first, 23 of the first 25 on third downs this year. That's not gonna it's not gonna hold up over the course of a 17-game season. And it was the same thing. His pressure numbers were off the charts those first 2 weeks, but then you see him go up against a really good defense in Philadelphia, and they had nothing going. So I think the only thing that really concerns me about this matchup this week is the Bucs defense. I think the Saints are going to keep a lid on this Buccaneers offense, but if Jameis Winston's in there and they can't get the run game going, I mean, this Bucs pass rush is off on Winston. I can think of offensive line. So, that's really my main concern. If Baker Mayfield and the Bucs are the ones who snap this 11-game streak with the Saints 20 points or less, I'll be absolutely shocked.
We appreciate it, Luke. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good, man. Thanks.
Luke Johnson, Saints reporter for The Advocate. I think there's something to what Luke's saying there. Just talking about the fact that, look, the Bucs are probably not very good, and they won a couple of games. The Vikings can't get out of their own way. The Bears are an absolute disaster. However, the Bucs do have some really good defensive linemen. And if Vita Vea is able to play, and you kind of look at what that unit looks like and the way that the Saints have played, they could really make things difficult. And if Jameis does what Jameis kind of can do sometimes and throws 2 or 3 picks and shortens the field, eventually you can't really blame the defense if they give up some points, because it's the same thing as last week where the defense pitches a shutout through 3 quarters and you just need the offense to do anything at the end. Give me a couple first downs, throw in a field goal here or there, like anything, and you'll win the game, and they weren't able to do it. So I like the Saints on Sunday at this point. We'll see if there's further information tomorrow on the injury report or if Derek Carr is able to go out there and do some limited things in practice. We'll see. But hopefully Kamara can add something, and the offensive line plays a little bit better, and the Saints can kind of move to the front of that division where we all think they probably should stand. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. Download that Rouse's app. Appreciate them for bringing you our Thursday shows. When we come back, I want to go into some numbers on this LSU offense and just issue a small reminder. We'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football tonight. Just place a three-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Lions and the Packers, and you'll get bonus bucks back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. So build your own. Choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's.
Join me, Jimmy Ott and Charles Hanniger, for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch, live from Jolie Pearl and Town Square Pizza. We're downtown, Jolie Pearl, Town Square Pizza, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
It's much more about us in terms of the details and playing with that focus for 4 quarters. And as I said, you know, you go on the road, you need a good team to go on the road with, and you have to have a mature team. And that's the challenge for our team, is to play with a lot more maturity, a lot more smarts. If we do that, you know, we feel like we've made the progress necessary to go down and play in Oxford, Mississippi, which is a very difficult place to play. Lane is an outstanding football coach, and he'll have his team ready to play. They're coming off of a loss. So anytime you're doing that, you're getting a team that's very angry and hungry. So we'll have to match that and play with a great competitive edge.
Brian Kelly talking about his football team as they head to Oxford. I like to do something midweek before a football weekend. And is just kind of reinforce some positivity about LSU. Is that fair? I think I spend a lot of time looking at the other team because I often feel like you watch every play that LSU plays, and you know about Deshaun Womack's role or Logan Diggs' emergence. You know that Brian Thomas had a big game last week, or that they've done some shuffling on the right side of the offensive line. Like, that information is not new to you. So I sometimes take it upon myself to talk about some things on the other side that maybe you don't know, or you haven't watched a ton of Ole Miss this year. You don't know what the weapons are on the outside for the Rebels or what their strength is on defense. And so that's kind of the stuff I tend to focus on. And when I do that, I oftentimes build the opponent up pretty significantly, because you watch highlights on YouTube and you look at some stats against bad teams and you're like, oh, this is really good. This is really good. And all of a sudden you're talking this team up into this juggernaut. So I sometimes like to take a second during the week and go, all right, what about LSU? Like, what do we think? And I just went to the numbers, the raw numbers, because LSU at this point does not have a significantly softer schedule than everyone out there. In fact, it's a pretty tough schedule. You played Florida State, one of the best non-conference games you can play in the country this year. You've played 2 conference games against veteran quarterbacks, one of them on the road. So you've been tested if you're LSU. It's not like you just rolled up a bunch of body bag statistics. Now, the Grambling game does create some things. I'll give you that. They scored 10 touchdowns in a row. So that's there, but most teams played a team that they massively outmatched. So that doesn't make LSU an outlier fully. But I wanted to look at just the raw numbers as just a reminder of what LSU is on offense. They're 10th in the country in scoring offense. They're scoring 42.8 points per game. They're 10th in the country in passing offense at 338 yards per game. They are 5th in the nation in converting third downs. They convert 58% of their third downs. They've been pretty explosive. They're number 8 in the country in terms of 20-yard plays created. They're number 4 in the country in terms of 30-yard plays created. And they're 6th in the country in 40-yard plays created. So 20-yard plays, 30-yard plays, 40-yard plays, they're in the top 10, top 8 of all of those statistics nationwide. In the red zone, they've scored the 8th most touchdowns, top 8 in the country. They've gotten into the red zone, and they're 12th in the country in red zone attempts. Their touchdown percentage, top 35. Their scoring percentage, top 35. Their offense statistically is wonderful when compared to the rest of the country. It's really, really good. And oh, by the way, with this quarterback and this left tackle and this left guard and this center and this right guard and this right tackle for some of the season, and this 2 wide receivers that are catching the lion's share, and this tight end, and this coordinator. So basically like 12 of your top 13 guys, if you count coordinator. Last year, you were 10th in the country in scoring offense. So this is not like some flash in the pan or, oh, yeah, Grambling and Mississippi State suck, so there's your stats. No, they did this last year. Would you be surprised if I told you that LSU had a better scoring offense in terms of points per game than Georgia last year? Would you be surprised if I told you LSU had a better scoring offense in terms of points per game than Tennessee last year? That surprised me. The Vols were 37th in the country. LSU was 10th. So the point of that exercise of going through you're 10th in the country in scoring offense, 10th in passing offense, 5th in third down percentage. You're 8th in terms of red zone touchdowns created. You're in the top 8 in the country in 20-yard plays, 30-yard plays, 40-yard plays, and you did all this last year is basically to say this. If you're an LSU fan, it's pretty natural and pretty realistic to be optimistic going into every game that you play. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not going to have a clunker here or there. They may. They may have one that looks like Tennessee, where they came out and they got stuffed on a couple of fourth downs, and it looked really poor for kind of the rest of the game. A little bit similar to what they did against Florida State this year. They came out, moved it down the field, had 2 fourth down conversions that didn't happen, didn't score in the red zone, and didn't score enough points. Maybe you have one that looks like Arkansas last year, where you went up there at 11 o'clock in the morning and just couldn't move the ball and on a terrible defense. It's possible, but the fact of the matter is that if you look back at last year, for the entirety of that season, and the first month of this season, your offense is elite by almost any statistical measure. Now, we're not talking about Ole Miss's offense right now. We're not talking about LSU's defense and not talking about LSU's ability to cover. We know all that. And those concerns are validated. But the fact is, when your offense breaks the huddle and they go out there, man, they're tough to deal with. Mike Denbrock's doing a good job. Jaden Daniels is doing a good job. Malik Neighbors is incredible. Brian Thomas has broken out. Mason Taylor's consistent. They need to run it better, and Diggs did that last week. That needs to happen. But this is a really good offense, and you just got to trust it. This is extreme, and it's a little hyperbolic. I will give you that. I'm not trying to make an apples-to-apples comparison here. It's not apples-to-apples, but it's in the same neighborhood. I was often concerned or nervous or amped up when Paul Skeens took the mound for LSU back in the spring because I felt like LSU had to win the game. To set up the rest of the weekend, you really have to win behind Skeens. And all of a sudden, through 6 innings of 0 or 1-run baseball, I'd look back and go, why was I stressing this? He's got 13 strikeouts and we've given up 1 run and we're up 6-1. Like, why was I stressing about this? And this LSU offense is not as dependable as Paul Skeens against college offenses. I know, but would it surprise you at all if in the start of the fourth quarter on Saturday, LSU already had 31 points because your offense is really good and Ole Miss is, giving up some plays this year? And at that point, I'd look back and go, man, why was I that nervous about that? They're going to score. They're good. They do that every time they come out. It's not apples to apples, but that's the positivity I'm choosing to look through at this point in the week. I don't know what the pass rush is going to look like for LSU on Saturday. I'm not sure how many explosive plays Lane Kiffin's going to draw up for Jackson Dart to hit against the LSU secondary. That's questionable and it's concerning. But at the same time, I've got to look at the positive side and look at this offense and go, man, they ought to be okay. You're 10th in the country in scoring offense. You create explosive plays as well as anybody. You get into the red zone a lot, and you score a lot of touchdowns when you do. And this is not the 2011 Bama defense you're facing on Saturday. It's an improved unit, a unit I'm excited to talk with Stephen Willis about in 15 minutes. He covers Ole Miss for Locked On. But just a little bit of a positive light here on this Thursday afternoon. We're starting to work towards the weekend. You can kind of feel that coming, getting ready for the game. We're diving into it, full steam ahead. We talked about LSU's defensive front in the first segment, and we're touching on this here. Just remember, just put that in the back of your mind. The offense should be okay. They ought to be able to score a lot of points on Saturday. Hopefully they score enough to beat the Rebels. That's certainly the hope at this point. Trust them. They've been good for 2 years. A lot to get to in hour number 2. Very much looking forward to chatting with Stephen Willis from Locked On LSU. Excited to chat with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. If you were listening to that monologue and you just heard my cell phone text, that was Chris Blair right there. Said he's ready to roll. Come at 2:15. So we'll chat with the voice of the Tigers at 2:15. So plenty to get to on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Rouse's. We'll come back and close things out for hour number 1 with best win and worst loss. We'll do that next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Same phone number they have had for 40 years. Get your phone out because a generator would be a game changer for you. And Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that Generac generator. Their phone number, same one for 40 years, 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been operating Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. And they do it in the manner that a small business would operate. But they've got some pretty newfangled contraptions. One is that they can monitor your generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's if you're gone. That's if you're there. If your generator for some reason malfunctions, even if it's not being called on to do any work, they'll know about it and they can come out, send a tech, and get that generator fixed so that when you need it, your generator is ready to perform. Every generator at Boudreaux's Electric comes with a free 10-year warranty. Free 10-year warranty. What are you waiting on? The next storm season's coming around. Wouldn't it be awesome to have the comfort to know you have that Generac generator that's customized to your home? Let Boudreaux's Electric help you out with that. Once again, it's 985-397-1562. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
In the prep football season, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by Brock. Catholic High and Northside kick off at 7, and it's immediately followed by Louisiana Prep Scoreboard presented by Lake Urgent Care. On YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, closing down hour number 1 here. Best win and worst loss on the board. We do the college football top 25 and the National Football League. The best win, I think, is one that I didn't have pegged. Certainly not 13 months ago and really not 13 days ago. But Kansas is undefeated, and they're going to Austin. And the Big 12 is not awesome. Like, I don't know what Oklahoma is or isn't. We think Texas is really good. But Kansas is ranked, and they're undefeated. And Jalen Daniels is really good. You want to talk about a splash victory. Kansas taking control of the Big 12 on the road in Austin? That would kind of be a big one. The only Kansas-Texas game in football that I recall ever, I know they lost to I think maybe 2 years ago, but I know that Charlie Strong lost to Kansas, and he was going to keep the job, and then he lost to Kansas and couldn't, and that was when the whole Tom Herman thing went up in smoke for LSU, and the bottom line on ESPN was going nuts, and ended up getting Ed Ogeron got a phone call real early, running down the I-12, singing Born on the Bayou. That game impacted the LSU football program immensely because I think Tom Herman was probably going to take this job, and then Texas lost to Kansas, and we knew that one was coming open, and then he was never going to take this job. Now, say what you will about whether or not you wanted Ogeron or Herman, and we got the greatest football season we've ever seen, and so that's all water under the bridge, but that was a Kansas-Texas result. And here's another big one here with Texas and Kansas in a ranked showdown. I think Kansas, best win on the board in college football. Worst loss, this one is sneaky. And it was sneakier before I knew what ESPN was doing. Because last week, we know that Game Day showed up in South Bend. Big deal. Night game. Notre Dame's finally got their quarterback. They got a chance to announce themselves on the national stage as a real national championship contender. Here comes Ohio State. I mean, just could not be a bigger deal. And they lost on the last play of the game. So now you've got to pick yourself up off the mat and go play little old Duke in front of 14 people in Durham. But now I found out game day is going to be there too, so maybe a little easier to get the guys back up and fired up. But still, that would be a bad loss. If Notre Dame loses to Duke for their second loss, and one of them's Duke and the other one's at home, I don't think there's a way back into the playoff. Sorry, just beating Clemson and USC is not going to get you there. So Notre Dame, I think, can eliminate themselves from contention. They can't win they can't win a conference. We know that. It's their own fault. And you have 2 losses. I don't see a way in at that point. The worst loss on the board would be Notre Dame in a letdown spot at Duke. Best win on the board in the NFL. Trendy team in the NFL. Young, quirky coach, high-flying offense. Are the Dolphins ready to announce themselves as the AFC East favorites? Will you go to Buffalo and beat them in the 75-degree weather that's not 18-degree weather? Give the Bills their second loss of the year? You're the favorite. I think the best win on the NFL board is Tua and company going to Buffalo and getting a win there in Orchard Park. The worst loss to me would be a team essentially bowing out of the playoffs. They're in really bad shape right now. But you go to 0-4, and I don't think you can recover. The Vikings are on the road, which makes things tough, but they're playing a Panthers team that's probably got Andy Dalton playing quarterback. I'm not telling you that losing to the Panthers is the worst thing you can do in the NFL. I'm telling you losing to the Panthers to go 0-4 might be. And the Vikings won so many close games last year. They were just remarkable on 3 to 6 point wins. And we've seen early on that they haven't been as good. Tampa went up there and got them. They just don't. I don't think anybody took them as a significant Super Bowl threat. Nobody feels that way about Kirk Cousins. He loves to get down 17 points and then throw for 265 yards in the second half. Put up a big fantasy day. And last year they got enough wins, but they, threw up on themselves and lost to the Giants in the playoffs. But you fall to 0-4. I don't care if Aaron Rodgers is gone. I don't care if the Bears are terrible. You fall to 0-4, you got big problems. So I think the Vikings losing at Carolina with likely Andy Dalton under center is the worst loss on the board. Best win in college football, Kansas going to DKR down there in Austin and beating Texas. Take the lead in the Big 12. Worst loss, Notre Dame going to little old Duke and losing in front of the game day crowd. Best win in the NFL, the Dolphins going to Buffalo. Worst loss in the NFL, Vikings going to Carolina. That's best win and worst loss. We do it every single Thursday at this time. 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. Snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win a $500 Rouse's gift card. Our judges are going to select a winner tomorrow. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Market, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Speaking of Rouse's, I will be out there tomorrow hanging out in T-Bob's stead. Rouse's Burbank and Lee. If you're looking to do your weekend grocery shopping, stop on by. I'll be there from 3 to 5. We'll have cups. We'll have hats. We'll have gift cards to Rouse's. We'll have fun stuff. Plus, we're talking a little football, and it's always a good time to hang out there on a Friday. Vibes are awesome at the Rouse's Burbank and Lee on a Friday. People are happy. They're generally getting off work at that point for the weekend. Got some folks rolling out with some cold pops for the weekend. Got the food all set up. If it's a tailgate weekend, it's even better. So come on out to Rouse's Burbank and Lee 3 to 5 tomorrow. Excited to be there. And Rouse's brings you our Thursday shows each and every week. So we appreciate them for that. Download the Rouse's app. Do your shopping right there. Saints20, your promo code for orders over $100. You can save $20. All right, that's it for hour number 1. Talk to LSU defensive line against that Ole Miss offensive line that is struggling. You want to hear that segment? You can go check it out on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google. That'll also be clipped on our YouTube channel, Hunt on LSU. Hunt on LSU for all your LSU football needs. Subscribe to that channel. We'd appreciate it. Luke Johnson from The Advocate talking Saints. That'll be on our Saints YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints. So appreciate Luke for stopping by, giving us a little update on how things are going in black and gold land. In hour number 2, we'll start off with a couple of guests. The voice of the Tiger, Chris Blair, is going to be with us in 20 minutes at 2:15. Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss is coming up after Sports Center. Hope your Thursday's going awesome. We're working towards the weekend. Come back with us for hour number 2. It's the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. NFL Week 4 kicks off tonight in the NFC North. The Packers host the Lions in a battle for first place. Both teams are 2-1. The Jets will host the Chiefs Sunday night at the Meadowlands. Can quarterback Zach Wilson turn his season around? ESPN's Dan Orlovsky says the Jets are being too careful.
They have made him so scared to go play football and to go play quarterback and trust his eyes and trusts his instincts that everyone's going, he stinks. No, he doesn't. He's just been controlled in a way where he's scared to throw the ball and he's scared to make mistakes.
Dan Orlovsky on Get Up. The division champion Milwaukee Brewers activate outfielder Garrett Mitchell from the 60-day injured list. He hasn't played since April after shoulder surgery. In the AL East, the Orioles can wrap up the division title with a win over the Red Sox at Camden Yards tonight. The Rangers will clinch a playoff spot with a win tonight against the Mariners in Seattle. The Diamondbacks could clinch with a win against the White Sox and a Cubs loss to the Braves.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Friday, I'll tell you which team's fate will be sealed this weekend with a loss. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
All right, we're out in the open field here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us as we are working towards that weekend. It's a weekend that includes the Magnolia Bowl, if you choose to call it that. It's LSU and Ole Miss from Oxford at 5 o'clock on Saturday night. Talk more about that when we bring on Stephen Willis. He's the host of Locked On Ole Miss, and he joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Stephen, thanks for the time. How are you, man?
I'm doing quite well. You're sponsored by Rouse's Market. Hey, I do Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles, and you can find them at Rouse.
There you go. You can find a lot of stuff at Rouse's, including dill pickles.
Yeah.
It's a combo. Well done there, Stephen. I've listened to a little bit of Locked On Ole Miss this week, kind of prepping for the game, and I've heard you mention a couple of times about the identity of this Ole Miss team and how they're searching for it. And last year's was so obvious with that power run game and a solid offense and a defense that was trying to bend but not break. Why do you think they've lacked an identity to this point?
Well, I think injuries kind of got the better of Ole Miss going into the season. This will be the first game that Ole Miss plays with their entire complement healthy. They were without Trey Harris for multiple games this year. Zachary Franklin first played against Alabama. Caden Prieskorn first played against Alabama. And Quinshon Judkins has kind of been quietly banged up during the season. So that probably limits the way you call the game. And whenever that happened, you kind of lost what we went in thinking that Ole Miss would be, and that would be Quinshon Judkins and then occasional shot plays over the top. So we'll see if Ole Miss can get back to that. I know that Ole Miss is going to try and run the ball and establish Quinshon against LSU because, in my opinion, in this game, Ole Miss has to earn the right to throw at that secondary. The secondary for LSU is scary for them, but Ole Miss has to get past the front seven in order to get time for Jackson Dart to be able to exploit that weakness.
You mentioned Judkins and him not potentially being healthy. What can you tell us about that and maybe his status as we move into the game?
Yeah, there were Lane Kiffin is notoriously tight-lipped about injuries going in, but rumors have come out that maybe he got a little banged up during fall camp, and against Tulane he had a little bit of a rib thing that he got, and so he was just kind of banged up. It wasn't something that he was going to miss a ton of time, but he just wasn't quite right. And everybody's saying that Quinshon's going to be the best this weekend that he's been all season as far as health goes. So we could see maybe what that Quinshon was, what we saw last year. The offense, we obviously have not much of an idea, but I'm expecting that we're going to heavily feature Quinshon Judkins.
That offensive line is very veteran for Ole Miss, and they've scored a fair amount of points at saving the game in Tuscaloosa. But how would you assess the play of the offensive line thus far?
The offensive line was recruited and built to play a certain way, and this year they haven't quite done it, and they've struggled a little bit. It's the same unit, essentially. The same players are there that were 4 out of 5 that was the third-rated running team in college football last year, but they struggled running the ball this year. And I don't know if that is because that teams have figured out how to play schematically against the Ole Miss run game. I don't know if the linemen are just regressing. Maybe Nick Broker was that big of a piece for the Ole Miss offensive line. But you added Quincy McGee from UAB, decent player. You added a Victor Kern, who was an all-conference level player from Washington. The drop-off should not be as much as what we've seen like a third through this season. But I genuinely think that if Ole Miss can, establish a quick passing game, because they generally don't have one. You look at Jackson Dart's passing zones, he doesn't use inside of 10 yards very much at all. And if you do that, that's going to help out the offensive line. That's going to help the running game. That's going to make the linebackers not be able to commit so much to the running game. I think that could help them out, and all of a sudden everything can get right. I guess my thing is that what I'm saying is it might be more schematically a problem than it's a talent problem, if that makes sense.
Chatting with Stephen Willis, the host of Locked On Ole Miss. You can find that wherever you find your podcasts. What's Pete Golding's biggest influence been on the Rebel defense in year one?
Oh, Pete Golding's defense. They're probably 3 or 4 times better than we thought they would be this year. I said going into the season that this team defensively was going to be clunky to where they're good defense. They're not a great defense, but they're really good at a certain area. And it's teams are scoring at about a 40% clip touchdown rate inside the red zone. They're picking field goals or not scoring at all. And Pete Golding, the discipline on that defense, if you take away the other teams getting explosive plays, and so far this season, Ole Miss has given up explosive plays to every team they've played, just 1 or 2 a game. But outside of that, they played pretty well. They only gave up about 300 yards of offense to Alabama, but 2 explosive plays.
Yeah.
That's the way that works. But I think against LSU, all right, when you're playing LSU and you have a Jaden Daniels and you have Malik Neighbors, and those combination is essentially half of Jaden's passing yardage, you cannot give up explosive plays in this game. And if you can force Daniels to scramble away from his dominant side and make him scramble left, and I think Ole Miss may line up and Pete Golding and have a Centurion Perkins, who is very weird because the last name. There's a lot of similarities with him and Harold Perkins. But if you can force him to scramble away from his dominant arm, you can limit explosive plays and honestly make more of Jaden Daniels running the football. And if you have to drive the football down the field, you're probably going to be more successful in a game that has an unbelievably high over-under level.
Certainly does. Give me a vibe check in Oxford on how the fan base is feeling. Obviously, Lane Kiffin was kind of a rock star there for the first couple of years, but you've got the flirtation with Auburn potentially last year, and then things don't go great in Tuscaloosa. How are people feeling in Oxford about Lane Kiffin in this program right now?
Kind of just win, honestly, at this point. After the Auburn situation, that was kind of the end of the honeymoon, and we just wanted to see results from the head coaching position because you're making $9 million a year. We expect $9 million results. That's kind of the fan base's temperature on that. So, and also in the age of NIL, it's kind of hard to be like a shut up and just support the team whenever you're begging people for their money.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird thing. So people feel empowered to just talk, but they have a tendency to go overboard. I'll put it in perspective. Ole Miss lost a football game against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Ole Miss has only won twice in Tuscaloosa in their history. But if you listen to a certain segment of the fan base, you would think they got beat by Tulane. And it's like that's the way it is. And the social media world is like everything has to be the worst thing ever or everything has to be the best thing ever. And I think some perspective is needed a little bit because Lane's not doing a bad job this year. There's some things that he needs to correct and get everything on the right track. But this isn't a situation where Ole Miss is broken or anything like that. And people are acting like after losing to Alabama, I mean, might as well have gotten beat by Auburn or Mississippi State. It's weird.
So I'm going to ask you what would a win mean second, but while we're on that tone, like what would a loss mean for Ole Miss this weekend?
Well, a loss, the way a loss would mean something, as far as realistically, is we got Arkansas coming up next. There's other games coming up. A win and a loss could be the difference between the Music City Bowl and the New Year's Six.
Yeah.
That's probably what a loss means. Now, for Lane, it doesn't mean anything or anything like that because, I mean, everybody's fine there. But a win, like, you're trying to get to, I guess this year it would be the Orange Bowl. I don't know if Ole Miss has a chance to run the table with an at Georgia sitting on the schedule. So playoff is not a situation where they can even dream that way. But they could pull it off at 10-2. They could end up in the Orange Bowl, and that would be a good season.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating game for a couple of reasons for both teams. LSU, because of the history of the program recently, is thinking about winning the West and winning the SEC and getting to the playoff and competing for a national championship. You lose this game, that's your second loss. A lot of those things get very, very difficult. And Ole Miss kind of the same way with the aspirations that they have. You lose a second game in 2 weeks to the two teams in your division. All of a sudden, the goalposts shift a little bit. So it's a big one in Oxford on Saturday. Stephen, we really appreciate your time. Enjoy the football this weekend.
All right, thank you, bud.
Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. That's the deal. It's such a huge game for the goals that these programs have. And maybe Ole Miss has 4 losses left on their schedule. Maybe LSU is going to lose 3 more games. Like, we don't know. But we're just talking about the high end here. We're not talking about the floor. And the high end lowers for both teams that lose this football game. That's a tough swallow for somebody about 9 o'clock on Saturday night. So we appreciate Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss for joining us here on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's. We'll take a timeout. Come back with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. I say every day that we're all affected by cancer. My best friend's sister was diagnosed with cancer in 2021. Just saw a video of her on Instagram kind of chronicling her journey, and it's an emotional thing. And so many of us have been affected by cancer, whether it's you personally having it or someone you're very, very close to. And Ochsner MD Anderson are continuing that fight with Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. It's the first and only provider in Louisiana with a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. The physicians are going to have direct access to MD Anderson specialists, their researchers, and clinical trials that are available to some eligible patients right here in South Louisiana. That expert care is going to be given in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and into Baton Rouge. Ochsner MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites moving forward, which is such exciting news. If you want to learn more about Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, head over to ochsner.org. It's ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong. Gulf Coast.
Tune in this Sunday as we bring you a trio of NFL games. Starting with our noon kickoff, the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Then immediately following, we'll bring you the Raiders and Chargers. Before our nightcap, the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets. Here on 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Rouse's, that means our show's on Thursday. On Thursday, you can also hear the Brian Kelly Show on the LSU Sports Radio Network. 7 o'clock from TJ Ribs. It'll be, of course, Brian Kelly, aptly named. And Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, who joins us every Thursday here in the 2 o'clock hour, does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Mr. Blair, how are you?
I'm great, Mr. Palmer. How are you?
I'm doing quite well on this Thursday. Interesting game Saturday night against Arkansas. Good offense, defense a little bit iffy, but they got it done. What was your biggest takeaway?
Well, my biggest takeaway was, again, it looked like for the first time, I've talked often about my admiration of Jaden Daniels and that West Coast vibe of never too high, never too low, just kind of steady. I certainly think it served him well Saturday night. He may have looked a little amped up to start that game. And, again, he's coming off an incredible performance the week before, but he was off the mark with throws. And, again, uncharacteristic, the throws that we've seen him make time and time again. And then once he settled in and he hit the big one to Brian Thomas Jr., and then they were off and running. 4 straight drives. Going from the end of the second quarter into the second half and spanning 75 yards. That just seemed to be no problem for them to move up and down the field and eventually find the end zone. But my biggest takeaway was I think the running game is getting there. They finished with, I think, 189 net yards on the ground. Again, Logan Diggs just a share away from another 100-yard performance. And, again, he carried the most. He had 14 carries in the game. And that's my big takeaway, is that I don't think it's quite there yet. Although on a night where you put up over 500 yards of offense, again, you were close to 200 yards on the ground. Again, I'm hoping that we saw a little bit better at Mississippi State. We saw a little bit better against Arkansas. And in a game where, Ole Miss has scored a lot and early and often, which has their total plays down to about 65 per game. Tulane did an excellent job, if you go back and watch that game, of running the ball 5 yards here, 4 yards here, 4 yards here, and they were just basically keeping the Ole Miss offense on the sideline. And I think that can be a solid weapon if you can establish the run game. So for all the things that took place last Saturday, I just was happy to see the run game starting to come around.
Yeah, Brad Davis was my assistant coach interview in the pregame last week, and he kind of felt like they were trending in the right direction. And then in this game, you saw they stuck with Emory Jones at right tackle and Miles Frazier at right guard. They didn't go with the freshman Lance Hurd, and they kind of found something. So I think Logan Diggs gets a lot of the credit, but how much better is the offensive line playing in the last 2 weeks than it was in maybe the first 2?
Well, you heard Logan, if you listened to him earlier in the week during the media session, he basically said, hey, I can't take the credit for all this. Our offensive line is doing a tremendous job of getting better and better, and I think that's why you're starting to see that trend upward. Again, they're trying to build depth there after LSU really had been depleted since really the 19 season. So I understand the ability to, the want to rather, of moving some guys in there and getting Hurd some snaps. And I don't think it's the last we've seen of him. But I do think you're right. You took note of it. I'm sure the coaches took note of it, that particular set of offensive linemen have been able to really, open up some holes for these runners to get to. And I'll say another thing about the running game. Although Logan got the majority of carries, I still think while they want to find that RB1 that Coach Kelly talked about in the summer and during camp, but I also think they really enjoy the ability to have kind of a Swiss Army knife running back room. Whether it's a pass protection they're looking for, whether it's for catching the football, whether it's for getting a couple of hard yards, or as we saw with Josh Williams, had one carry for 41 yards. So I think the fact that they're still trying to find that one top running back, it's still nice depending on down and distance, score, situationally, who do you want out there beside Jaden Daniels in the offensive backfield? And I think that's a great asset to have.
When I talked to Frank Wilson before the Grambling game, he said, our depth chart is etched in sand. I thought that was a pretty powerful line. I think that's what the guys live for over there in the running back room. Defensively, LSU gets set to play Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin. They got off to a really hot start against LSU last year, 17-3, entering the second quarter, and then LSU put the clamps on them. It's kind of the same cast of characters on both sides of the ball entering this round. When you think of Lane Kiffin offense, what do you think?
I think he spreads you to run the football. And I think the one thing that's a head scratcher so far through 4 games, even with the competition they played, like Mercer, and then as we saw last week, really an inability to do much of anything offensively against Alabama, is that they're not particularly running the ball well from the running back position. And at the end of last season, certainly early in that game, I thought that Judkins may be, the best running back in the Southeastern Conference. And for them to be having him another year coming into this season, I thought he was poised to have a really sensational year. And he's averaging just over 50 yards per game. So again, it's kind of surprising to me that as much as everybody thinks of Lane Kiffin and throwing the football and the reputation he got mainly as the offensive coordinator bringing Alabama into the modern age, I mean, it's a team that wants to spread the field and run the football, and they haven't been able to do it very effectively. And the difference has been Jackson Dart now is your leading rusher, and he's certainly capable. I mean, I talked to David Kellum, voice of Ole Miss, yesterday, and he flat out said, he's a little different from KJ Jefferson in the sense that there are going to have design runs for him, and he wants to run. And maybe in the past he's had a tendency to pull it down maybe too quick and not extend the play to throw the ball, but just decide to take off and run. But that's what I see in Ole Miss. But I think through 4 games, there's something I'm missing there. The number of plays is down. Again, some of that's because against Mercer, I mean, they just scored just about on every play. But still, all in all, the fact that they really haven't established the running game, and certainly I hope they haven't figured it out this week because LSU is near the bottom in the SEC so far this year in rushing defense. So hopefully LSU can play stout against the run, and Ole Miss still can't let either a running back go wild.
LSU was really good against the run against Mississippi State, not so much against Arkansas, obviously, and Florida State had a little bit of a success running the football. How do you think they'll fare stopping the run? Because if you do that, you all of a sudden put yourself in a position to rush the passer, and I think we all think they can do that.
I mean, I think the front 4, for LSU, I mean, one of the questions I want to ask Coach Kelly tonight, I mean, you look at the rotation they're using up front defensively, and you start listing those names, and you think about how, Mekhi Wingo has played. You think about how Swinson has played since coming in. Jefferson comes to mind. Obviously, Mason Smith and what his potential can be, but Jacoby and Guillory. I mean, you think about that front. I listened to the players this week from the defensive side talk a lot about their inability at times to set the edge. And, Swinson he mixed no words. I mean, he flat out said the key this week, and probably the key for every week, is we have to do a better job of setting the edge and creating a containment area. Because I think one-on-one, you can keep them on the inside. LSU, for the most part, I think will have favorable results. But that's what concerns me about this Ole Miss game, just simply that Dart's the kind of guy who, if you don't have the edge set and you don't corral him and contain him, once he gets out on the edge, he certainly has the skill set to hurt you. So I think if you can force them to take you head on, LSU's rush defense, I think, will be successful. And for the most part, that's what they did against Mississippi State.
I know every week you do the Hearing Voices podcast, chat with play-by-play voice from the other side of things. What was the nugget that you took away from your chat with Oxford, Mississippi?
Well, I think he talked about, that this game, he said the catering companies, the tailgate turnkey companies, like they're all hiring extra hands this week. Because I asked him, is there a hangover effect with all the hype and so much emphasis put on that game last week, and then the result comes the way it does? I'm not so sure coaches and players in this day and age, let that stuff linger on. But from a fan base, is all hope lost? Is everybody still talking about the Alabama game and what didn't occur? And he said no. He said they're fired up. It's LSU. It's Ole Miss. It'll be packed out starting in the daytime and then ending at night. It's going to be what we think it will be. So it will be a hostile environment. It'll be loud. And again, should make for a great game.
Should be a great environment tonight at TJ Ribs, the Brian Kelly Show. He is the voice of the Tigers. Chris Blair, he will be there. We'll be listening. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Hunt. See you on Saturday.
Sure will. That is Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. You can catch the Brian Kelly Show on the LSU Sports Radio Network. And listen, I've been spending just about every night the last 2.5 weeks getting my heart absolutely ripped out of my chest by the Chicago Cubs. Every single night. They lead in the 7th. They lead in the 8th. They lose the game. They do it every night. I actually have some enjoyment in my life this evening. Maybe I'll listen to the Brian Kelly Show. That's generally a better mood indicator than the Cubs just vomiting all over themselves and choking so hard on a chicken bone for the entire 2 weeks of the season that they won't make the playoffs. That's where we've been the last couple of weeks. Listen to Chris and Brian Kelly tonight at 7 o'clock. When we come back, one of the most honest interview answers I've ever heard in my life, maybe a little too honest, by Sam Burns, and it has nothing to do with golf. We'll let you hear that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to kick off the NFL season tonight, Thursday Night Football. You've got the Lions. You got the Packers. You want to get some money down, FanDuel is the spot for it. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, knowledgeable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who knows the gaming problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin. Plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2640.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We kick off your football weekend. Mike Triplett, your fantasy blitz, and we'll head to Oxford to take a look at the Rebs. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
104.5 ESPN, along with Acura Baton Rouge, are teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. To donate to this important cause, visit our website, 1045ESPN.com. Everyone who makes a donation will be entered to win exclusive prizes, Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. Hunt Palmer Show, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, moving right along on a Thursday, brought to you by Rouse's. The Ryder Cup's a huge deal to me. I understand it's not a huge deal to a lot of you listening. It's over there in Rome. It's going to be on in the middle of the night, and we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Ryder Cup. However, there is some LSU flavor in the Ryder Cup with Sam Burns being selected. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Ryder Cup, each team has 12 players on it. 6 qualify through their performance in PGA Tour events and majors, and then 6 are picked as captain's picks to join the team. And there's a huge amount of drama around it. Players are, fitted for uniforms before they even have a chance to be picked, and it's a stressful time for a lot of players involved. And Sam Burns did not qualify for the top 6 players on Team USA, so he was going to have to be a captain's pick, and they knew when Captain Zach Johnson was going to be making that announcement. So it was a stressful time, and Sam Burns was asked about that on SiriusXM. We're going to play the soundbite. It's a long one, but it's a hilarious answer, and one that's probably relatable to a lot of people here. Maybe not about being picked for the Ryder Cup team, but just in life in general. So this is Sam Burns talking about his experience on getting selected to the Ryder Cup team.
Sam, can you tell everybody listening what the call was like when Zach Johnson called you?
Yeah, so we got home from Atlanta on Sunday night, and Zach had sent us all a text, like, I don't know how many guys, like, hey, I'm going to call everyone in the morning, like, just to let everybody kind of know. So, of course, I did not sleep Sunday night. I was so tired, 4 weeks on the road, but just staring at the ceiling all night. So, get up Monday morning, or not really get up, stand up out of bed, I guess. And I was like, I told Caroline, my wife, I was like, we got to get out of the house for a little bit. Let's just go somewhere. So we went to the little coffee shop, sat around there for a little while, and then went back to the house. And so I get back to the house, and I had to go to the bathroom, like bathroom. So literally as soon as I sit down, Justin started texting me. He's like, have you heard anything yet? And while I'm responding to him, Zach calls me. So of course I had to answer. I answer. And he's like, hey, I just, kind of small talking. And then he was like, hey, as the captain of the U.S. Ryder Cup team. I just want to officially invite you. And I'm like mid-poop. And then I start crying because he just told me I'm invited. And, like, so much is going on. And so, like, while I'm on the phone with him, I'm trying to, like, wipe and, like, get out of there. Like, also go tell Caroline. So she comes around the corner about that time. She's, like, asking me because I guess she heard me on speakerphone. And I told her, I was like, gave her a thumbs up. It was really cool. But that was
You'll never forget that.
That's real life right there.
Yeah, that's real life.
I mean, the guy's on the commode. He's getting the call to go to Rome to be on the Ryder Cup team. And he's trying to wipe his tears and go tell his wife. And isn't that fairly relatable to everyone? You get a phone call that well, I probably got to pick this one up, and it's just not a very opportune time. That's I mean, you can't. Zach Johnson calls, like, you can't miss that call. Like, that's the call you've been waiting for. I mean, that's classic. And it's incredibly candid from Sam, who's not known to be one of the bigger personalities on tour, but he gets the call. This is a perfect segment for Hunt and T-Bob to do together, right? It's golf. It's LSU golf. It's the Ryder Cup. That's kind of my lane there. And then we've got potty humor, which would go right with T-Bob, which I don't know if he told this story on the air this morning or not, but I certainly thought it was worth bringing up. And Sam's going to be out in the first pairing of the Ryder Cup tonight, 12:30 our time. It's at 7:30 over in Rome, and he'll be out with Scotty Scheffler in the first match. So it's alternate shot, and I don't know how they're going to structure it with odds and evens and who takes that shot, but it's possible that Sam Burns could strike the first shot of the Ryder Cup. Webb Simpson did that a few years ago and skied one straight up in the air that didn't even reach the fairway. Few nerves, so Sam Burns might be the first guy out there. Beck, I've got a little bit of a dilemma on my hands here in terms of time. I got all these things that I want to watch, and I'm not willing to like DVR and tape. So here's my time conundrum here. The Cubs play at 6:40 tonight.
Yep.
And it's crunch time. There's 4 games left, and they're tied.
They pretty
for the
much
last
need to
wild card
win
spot.
for sure.
So I have to watch that game. And then I got to find some way to go to sleep after that at like 9:15, 9:30.
Yeah, hopefully they don't go to extra innings again.
Well, and they could. And I'm going to be up no matter what for the first shot of the Ryder Cup at 12:30. And I'll be up for the day at that point. So I'm going to watch from 12:30 all the way through when I have to come to work at 8. So, I mean, Myers gets up at 7, and that's when kind of our morning starts at the house. But from 12:30 to 7, I'm locked in, and then we'll get to work, and we'll figure that out.
So you're going to get like hopefully 3 hours.
Hopefully 3 hours. I'll probably be all keyed up, and we'll see what happens after the Cubs game. But then I got to go through the entire day of work. Then I got the Rouse's remote. Then I've got date night tomorrow with the wife. And then we get home, and they start at 12:30 in the morning again on Saturday. And I got to wake up and watch that. And then I got pregame at 3. And then I've got to do that. This is Saturday. But I got pregame at 3, and I got postgame. Probably the game will be over at 8:30, so 9, 10. So I'm done at 11, and then I got to come back at 11 and get. And they don't start until
they start a little bit
like
later,
5:30 or 4:30 or 5:30 on Sunday, which I'll be up for that too. So, we're talking 3 hours tonight and maybe 2-3 hours tomorrow to get me through the weekend.
Might have some 5-hour energies or something in your future here. Red Bull, I don't know.
Is it acceptable for me to be drinking because I don't drink, I've never had a cup of coffee before, and I'm not going to start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, how about like Coca-Cola? Is it acceptable to drink that at 3 in the morning?
I guess, but isn't it, I mean, if you drink too many Cokes, I feel like you might crash.
I think I'm just going to have to work off adrenaline. My wife's convinced that I'm going to be a zombie at dinner tomorrow. That's not going to be a problem. I'll be ready to roll and fine, but it's like it's more of like the cumulative effect of how this is going to go, and I'm not willing to miss any of the Ryder Cup, so that's just not going to be an option. So we'll see. I'll give you a report tomorrow how things are going, but
we'll see tomorrow. Yeah,
I'm going to be just a lunatic in my living room at like 2:00 in the morning, grinding over 8-footers while everyone on earth is sleeping over here, and I'm trying to grind the Ryder Cup. But Sam Burns will be playing thanks to a phone call he got while he was sitting on the toilet. So shout out to Sam Burns for that. If you are interested, the matchups for the morning alternate shot are out. I was listening to Jimmy and Charlie talk about it early on their show with Max, but it's going to be a heavyweight fight tomorrow with these teams. Interestingly enough, Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas are not going to play in the morning. We'll certainly see them in the afternoon. Brooks Koepka is not going to play tomorrow morning. We'll see him in the afternoon as well. But you're going to see Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns take on Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton in the first match. Then it'll be Max Homa and Brian Harman against Victor Hovland and Ludwig Aberg. Ricky Fowler and Colin Morikawa, the Cali boys, are going to take on the Burley boys from Team Europe. Shane Lowry, who's not afraid of a pint of beer in any capacity, and Sepp Straka, who's not really afraid of that either, Georgia boy, for Team Europe. And then it'll be Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, kind of the A-team for America, against Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood. That is just going to be a lot for me to deal with in the wee hours. So if you wake up and have to use the restroom tonight and you're thinking about, man, I'm glad I get to go back to sleep, I'll be grinding away at 12:30 this morning, or this coming morning, watching a little bit of the Ryder Cup. So, fired up for it bigly every 2 years. Very, very excited. All right, our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. Always invite you to download that Rouse's app. You can do your Rouse's shopping on the app and have your personal shopper go do the shopping for you, and you can just drive up to that pickup center right there at the front, and they'll bring you your groceries. If you spend more than $35, which is not very difficult to do, then you're not going to spend an extra cent having them do your shopping for you. If you spend $100 inside Rouse's, use the promo code Saints20, you will get $20 off of your order. I'll be out at Rouse's tomorrow. Very much looking forward to that. We'll see if I've run out of energy by the time I'm sitting there hanging out. But we're going to have some fun over at Rouse's. If you're doing your shopping, you're having a game day watch party, you're just getting ready to watch the Saints and the Tigers, do your weekend grocery shopping at Rouse's. We appreciate them for bringing you our Thursday shows. We got one segment left to go. It's always Take It or Leave It. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana like Marucci Sports. Marucci was founded in a shed in Baton Rouge. Now you turn on the TV like I will tonight to watch the Cubs, and you'll see dozens of the best Major League players using Marucci equipment. But it's not just a bat-producing company. They're multifaceted. They've got their baseball performance lab. Pioneering initiatives like that are why they've expanded their workforce by 137%. And they help to attract new talent to Louisiana and keep our best talent here in our great state. Plus, they got the Marucci World Series, which serves as a juggernaut in tourism every single July. Thousands of youth athletes, their families, coaches come to Baton Rouge. They help us in a number of ways. I love the baseball side of it, but there's a philanthropic side of it. There's a business side of it. There's a ton of sides to it, and that's why Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana, we want to tell their story, and LWCC gives us that platform with their Champions of Louisiana campaign. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. Could be a business, could be a nonprofit, could be just a person. We'll tell their story. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet. The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan.
Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris and Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's on Friday. Gordy Rush subbing in for Richard Dixon, plus Bruce Marshall and Troy Macker join the show, previewing the weekend in college and pro football. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, I'm going to complain here for a second. I know I get chastised for doing too much complaining, but I am going to complain here for a second. The Braves just released their lineup for tonight. The Braves are approximately 967 games clear of everybody in the NL East. They're going to get home field over the Dodgers, assuming they, win like one game moving forward, or the Dodgers lose one game. They're still starting Acuna. They're still starting Albies. They're still starting Riley. They're still starting Olsen. They're still starting Ozuna. Sit some people. Rest them for the playoffs. Stop playing these guys. I realized they called up a pitcher from AAA to start the game, so they're not trying from a pitching perspective. Give some of these guys a day off. I'm trying to win a game. I can't beat these guys. It's been a stressful 2 weeks, people. I'm getting grilled in the chat as well, by the way. Apparently, everyone wakes up at like 3 in the morning every day, and I should just do what they do. I wake up closer to 7. I apologize. And, there's a lot that are consider the fact that I work 2 hours a day. I do, in fact, work more than 2 hours a day. I'm on the air 2 hours a day, but I prep for the show, and I do some sales things. It's not exactly like construction in 104-degree heat, not exactly brain surgery, but it is like I do function more than 2 hours a day. But I do need to, I guess, figure out how to wake up with the early birds there at 3 o'clock in the morning or so. It's just I'm just not used to it. Apologies. I like to, sleep from like 11 to 6:30 most days. That's kind of a full night of sleep for me. So shout out to y'all for grinding, getting those 3 hours of sleep and making it happen. And I apologize for offending you at the last segment, but it's just a little adjustment for me to get up at 12:30 in the morning. All right, let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The Braves stopped a tied game in the 10th inning to honor Ronald Acuna for his 70th stolen base. Acuna is the first ever 40-70 player. He was the first 40-60 player as well. The moment was worthy of stopping the game. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. Give him a plaque after the game or something. Give him whatever he wants today and tell him not to play. Little salty, but we're trying to, win a game here, and we got a pitcher out on the mound that stinks and is thinking about everything, and now we got Albies digging in, but Acuna's got to have his moment. We're doing a curtain call and running a video on the board. Have a little perspective. We're trying to win games here, Braves. I know that you've won 937 this year. I know you've won the division 400 times in a row. We're not all that good. So we're trying to win a game. We very rarely win these days, and now you're making it harder with your tribute videos for a guy because he stole a base. How about before the game today? And then give him the day off. Tell him to get drunk. I don't know. Get him off the field. Oh, we got to do this again in like 4 hours. Great. Excited. Awesome. Next.
USFL and XFL are merging. The USXFL. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I think, look, if this is giving some guys who are trying to hang on or get their shot in the NFL, I'm all for them doing it. I'm just not going to watch a snap ever. Like, I got a better chance of watching a Seinfeld rerun or scrolling through Instagram than watching an XFL, USFL merged football game with a bunch of guys I never heard of. Like, that's just not going to happen in my world. But I recognize the fact that it's really hard to stick in the NFL. It's tough to find a spot, and there are some guys that are good enough that are just gotta have their shot. So if they need to go out there and do it, I'm all for it. I'm not going to pay much attention.
Last one here. Wilt Chamberlain's 1972 NBA Finals jersey, worn in Game 2 and the clinching Game 5, exceeded expectations at auctions at Sotheby's, selling for $4.9 million on Wednesday night. Kind of weird that he only wore it in Game 2 and 5. Like, does he? I guess it's away or home. That's probably what it is. Yeah. All right, take it or leave it. $4.9 million.
I'm going to leave it because I don't have the 4.9 laying around to buy a game-worn basketball jersey from the 60s. But if you do, I think that's, cool to have. I think the question it raises for me is, how many times do NBA players these days wear the same actual jersey? Like, is it a game-to-game deal? Do we wash them? Like, I'm assuming it's not like my high school deal where they gave me a jersey in November and then I gave it back in February. That's probably not how it works. But, like, how often are we changing out? I mean, clearly they're doing some laundry. They got clubhouse guys in the MLB.
Right.
I mean, I'm imagining they don't have – now, the other thing is that the NBA teams wear so many freaking jerseys, and they're all City Connect or different color or whatever, and I can never even tell what teams are playing. But how often are they wearing the same jersey? Like, he wore this in 2 games in a playoff series.
I'm guessing it's probably different in the 70s, but now it's like guys are trading jerseys, swapping jerseys. You see the players in different teams swapping jerseys in the NBA
you got
and
to
the
do the
NFL.
jersey swap, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess they probably don't wear – they probably have multiple jerseys that they wear.
I feel like in the NFL, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they have 17 games and they wear 17 jerseys.
Yeah.
You're getting holes in those, like ridiculous grass stains and stuff. I got it. Chuck it in the trash. Give it to New Jersey. You only play 17 times. But in the baseball, where you're playing 162, and then in basketball, where you're playing 82, and you don't even you don't get them dirty.
Yeah.
Like, I think you would. That's something I'm curious about. These are the questions we need to know.
It is.
And I bet there are a bunch of guys in the NBA that don't know because they've got the clubhouse staff that just does it. They're all catered for. They don't even carry their bags probably. But that's interesting. I wonder if they're wearing back-to-back uniforms. We're trying to get to the bottom of important issues here on the Palmer Show. The important issue this weekend, outside of some football, is the Ryder Cup. Are we going to win, Beck?
No.
We haven't won in Europe since '93.
I think they're going to tie, actually, like the Solheim.
You think we're going to tie? Well, if we tie, we get the cup because we won it last time.
Oh, you're right. I think they're going to tie.
We got to get to 14 points.
In that case, I think they're going to retain the cup. I don't think they're going to win.
Wow, that's a bold pick to pick exactly 14 points. I'm going to choose to be optimistic entering the Ryder Cup this evening. I think we have a really good team. I think Europe has a really good team, but they have some guys that are real questionable. Big Bob McIntyre, who's from Ireland, who went to McNeese down the road, and he apparently is hitting like a 4 handicap, just looks atrocious out there. There's some real rumblings. He might not play until Sunday. He's been so bad. I don't know if Højgaard's going to get any points.
Aberg's a rookie.
Aberg could be anything. Yeah, Fitzpatrick's record's atrocious. Let's see. I'm going to be optimistic. I think they win it. I think they win it 16-12. It'd be an impressive win if they could do that. That's what my score is going to be. I'm sticking to it, but I'm excited to watch it this evening. All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It, and that's it for our show here on this Thursday. Shout out to Rouse's for bringing you our Thursday shows. We opened up talking about LSU's defensive front against Ole Miss's offensive line that's really been struggling. I also talked about LSU's offensive prowess, statistically speaking, in terms of the rest of the country at 1:30. Into your LSU stuff, you can catch those two on demand. You can also find them on Hunt on LSU, our YouTube channel. Luke Johnson was with us at 1:15 talking about the black and gold and his trip up to Wisconsin. Luke enjoyed himself up there outside of the Saints and not getting it done, but Luke is from Wisconsin, so maybe that wasn't the worst thing for him. We'll see. I don't want to put words in Luke's mouth. Best win, worst loss of the weekend in college football in the NFL to close hour one. Stephen Willis, locked on Ole Miss, talked about Lane Kiffin's Rebs at 2 o'clock, and Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, was with us at 2:15. At 2:30, story about how Sam Burns got the call. He was on the Ryder team, and he was on the toilet, but he had to take the call. All that is on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and as I mentioned, on YouTube. Those of you in the Bayou Ford chat on our YouTube channel, appreciate y'all hanging out. If y'all could throw us a like on the way out, we would certainly appreciate that. Excited for tomorrow's show. We'll talk Saints Bucks. We'll talk Tigers and Rebs. We'll get my prediction on both of those games. Preston Guy will be with us from TigerBait.com as well. Shout out to Rouse's for bringing you our Thursday shows. Matt Moscone is about to drive you home on After Further Review. I will see you tomorrow, same time and same place. It's 1 to 3, The Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.